Well, what's up, H fam? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope you've had an amazing week. My name is Terrence. I'd like to welcome you to the Connect Corner. That's right, service has not started yet. This is our pre-show where the plants may be fake, but the people definitely are not. Today's a special occasion because as a church, we are celebrating 22 years of ministry, 22 years of building people, 22 years of living a purpose-driven life. And that's worth celebrating. So it was only befitting that I invited someone who has been here since the beginning, since the conception. She actually even helped give birth to this ministry that is known as Higher Dimension Church. It is Torsha Joy Mika Johnson. I know her as Mother, or better as Joy, J-O-I, abbreviation of her middle name. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, son, for that very warm introduction. I'm glad to be here. You know, I've been watching Connect Corner. You're doing a wonderful job.
I appreciate it.
I enjoy all the guests that we have on, and just your little sense of humor that you throw in every now and again.
Just a little bit.
that you get from your dad, you know, makes it really enjoyable. And I take away nuggets, so it's good.
That's good. I'm glad you understand that the comedy comes from his side of the family.
Definitely.
Yeah. But no, the Connect Corner has been great. Just so many members, so many friends, families we have who have amazing stories. You know, people that just showed up to HD and we would have never known without this segment just how they get here, what they're going through, their gifts, their talents, all these things. So it's been great. But we're here, we're talking about 22 years of ministry. We're getting to connect with you. So let's start at the beginning. What was that like? From marrying the pastor, and at first, of course, he was at another church. You know, he didn't start the church. That happened after y'all got married. So let's start right there.
Well, you know, women can be long-winded. So you want me to give you a condensed short version?
Oh, it's okay. I'm the host, so I'll make sure to stop you if it's going too long.
Okay, so yeah, he was a full-time staff, young adult minister at a church here in the city, New Faith Church. And we were there for 3 years, right? Gotcha. And so when he first got to New Faith Church, he felt the prompting of the Lord to start a church. But, you know, as the Word of God shares, that when you want to get counsel, you seek the advice from wise people. And so he spoke with Dr. Williams, who advised him at the time, you know, to stay put at New Faith Church, stay under his tutelage, his training, and then, you know, when the prompting came again, he could let him know. So 3 years passed.
Gotcha.
And he came back around and told him that it was strong, and the Lord was letting him know that it was time. Now, he didn't share that with me. The first time he got the prompting, he never told me.
Gotcha.
He told Dr. Williams. So when he came and told me 3 years later.
Did you feel any way about that he didn't tell you first?
Yeah, a little bit, but I was so busy being a mom and trying to figure it all out with this, you know, minister who was full-time with this church that, you know, it didn't bother me much. So anyway, but when he told me he was going to start this church, I said, from the ground up, like, you're going to start it? And he was like, yeah, because he had already interviewed for other churches in the process. Okay. You know, he went through the process.
I never knew that part.
He did, yeah. It was a few churches here in the city. Okay. Funny story is the day he preached his first sermon, the very next day, he got an offer to pastor a church. Wow. I think that was the Lord just showing us he was going to pastor one day.
Definitely.
So fast forward, and I think 3 opportunities came, and he did not get selected. Wow. Yeah, I think back, you know, in retrospect, and I'm like, thank God.
Me too. I don't know the churches or what, but thank God.
But it was, thank God. So anyway, because I really love my church. I really love what we've created here. Definitely. So when he told me that, I was really in shock. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. I felt unprepared. I felt ill-equipped. I felt like he and the Lord had this conversation they didn't let me in on. and I didn't know how it was going to work out. Right. But thanks be to God, he had gifted me with the gift of faith. Yeah. And so when your father shared that with me, I said, okay, you know, here we go. Yeah. I knew that when I said I do, that's what I meant. So if that meant
Because y'all met at church.
we
right?
did, yeah,
Right.
we met at church. We met the day after he preached his first sermon.
Wow.
The same day he got the call to pastor that church.
Wow.
So yeah, but we met. It was
So you knew ministry was definitely going to be a part of your life. Y'all, you met him as he was preaching his first sermon.
yeah, but I never, had this desire to be with a pastor or
Gotcha.
somebody who was like really in church like that. I knew I wanted somebody who loved the Lord. That was
Okay.
very important to
Got
me.
you.
At a young age, I just desired someone who loved the Lord more than they would love me. I felt like if they love God more than they love me, through the ups, the downs, and whatever you go through, there will be something to guide you back to God's word in that foundation. So I always felt like we can make it if that's the case. So that was important, but not a pastor.
Got you.
Yeah.
No, that's a good and just great of you to, even in the midst of not knowing or understanding what was going to happen, it's just buckling up for the ride and helping, launch this ministry. What has been the most surprising thing about HD in these 22 years? What has been like just one of the things that has surprised you the most?
How frequent the wrapping paper changes.
Okay. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
do. So think of it just each year Christmas comes around, or each year birthday comes around. You go buy, some wrapping paper to wrap a gift, and you may not see the same wrapping paper you saw last time, right? But it's still nice. It still looks good. It's still pretty. Well, one thing your father shares is that the gift stays the same, even though the wrapping paper doesn't. And so here at Higher D, we've been able to transition from what was deemed a traditional Baptist church into now a modern, like
Amen.
on the edge
Amen.
of contemporary. You have a
Hallelujah.
lot to do with that.
Amen.
But I believe it was your upbringing. I believe it's what we exposed you to growing up. And then I've always, desired this unique flair. Like your dad has always been like, he can hoop, he can holler, he can rear back, and, people love all that. But he's always been solid on foundational teaching, which, and surprisingly, God has fixed it where from the smallest child to the oldest adult has been able to understand it. It's his unique gift. I call it his sauce. That God has gifted him with. So with that, we've been able to make this transition. So the wrapping paper has changed. Things look different, and so people who were here back when we started, it looks so different now, but it's still good. It still feels like home. You still get the word of God. It's still the foundation.
How is
on which
that,
we
if
built
we
the
could
church.
hang out right there just with the fact that the wrapping paper has changed? I even heard things like, if you don't change, you die. In 22 years, definitely, this is not the same church. I tell people all the time, like, I did not like church. Like, it wasn't, like, I went because I had to.
Yeah,
Like
that was a given. You
Yeah.
were going to church.
But, definitely it's changed a lot and it's become, something new, but still the same. But everybody can't always handle the changing of the times and adapting to what's new. How is that process for you in just adapting and changing over these last 22 years, but still keeping the gift the same?
Well, I think one thing is the fact that, like the saying goes, if you change, you die. If you don't change, you die. The one thing that's consistent in life is change. And so when you think, you look into our world. Well, 20 years ago, we have technology like never before. We didn't have that. So now it's the way. It's the way, it's the means by which communication travels faster than the mailman could get mail in the post office. You know what I'm saying? With the click of a mouse, you're able to send messages, and these things are put in place.
And I haven't even used a mouse in so long. Lord have mercy. But yeah.
Funny story is, and I'm gonna get back to what I was saying, but funny story is, your sister, I never shall forget, we were at my grandmother's house, and my grandmother and my dad, listen, it's so many artifacts
Most definitely.
at that house.
Y'all, the first
And
TV ever made is
it's
at
still,
this house.
and it still works.
Yeah.
It still works. It's older than me. But anyway, so she saw a typewriter.
Ooh.
And I never shall forget, she looked at it and she said, "What is that?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, like you've never seen this?" And that's when it hit me, like, yeah, that's so true.
Does she still
things
use
change.
it? Oh, that was a
No.
joke. Yeah, that was definitely a joke. We may need to look into that though. There may be some money in that house, artifact-wise.
There's some money in that house. Grandma, we already know we talked about this, but I know she's watching. But anyway, so, just the fact that things have changed, the way we do things change, even though, style, it always comes back around, it looks different, so things are changing. And I think it's important if you're going to be able to keep up, if you're going to be able to continue to progress in life, you need to be open to adapting to change.
Yes. No, that's good, and that's so true. I've definitely learned that growing up with y'all. It's actually something I appreciate about the both of you, because y'all aren't, definitely, I think my siblings have helped with y'all's ability to adapt quicker, but y'all have always definitely been open to trying new things, and if there's a better way, let's do that. So definitely appreciate that. Kudos to y'all. So 22 years still, right? I heard him mention church. Things, y'all start the church, things pick up rather quickly.
Super
What was
fast.
that like?
Super fast.
From little girl from Acres Home.
Studewood.
I'm sorry. But you did live in Acres Home, right?
No, but my grandmother on my mom's side did.
I know y'all was all over.
Well, yeah, my grandmother did at one time. But
Okay,
not
yeah, I
grandma,
knew
yeah.
somebody was in
Acres
Acres
Shakers,
Home.
yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So you from Northside, pops from all over Houston. Little
Landed
church,
in
even
South.
Mount Horeb, where y'all met. Little church in the middle of Midtown.
Yeah.
And we start this church in a living room. We get into school. Things start happening real fast. What was that like?
Man,
And even if you could tell the people like what happened.
it was a ride. It was a ride, and I don't believe either of us expected that explosive growth, just the way that took off. I remember when your father and I were dating. This takes me back to when we were dating, right? And so we dated for 3 years, and I remember one time we had been going back and forth doing some arguing, and I prayed about it, because remember I told you I wanted somebody who loved the Lord.
You did.
And so I prayed about it. I remember God, he gave me a vision in that moment, because I was really ready to call him and tell him, you know what, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I won't tell you. I'll tell you why off tape. But anyway, so the Lord in that moment gave me a vision, and he spoke to me, and I heard these words, and he gave me a picture so clear. He said, he is going to be great. And it wasn't loud, it was just gentle. But in that moment when I heard it, and then I got this vision of him standing, and there was so many people, like it was a sea of people. And it reminded me of what God shared with Abraham, that he was gonna be the father of many nations. So after I got that vision, and after I heard those words, that was the comfort that I needed to stay in the relationship. Because at the time, it was just some wavering and, all of that stuff. And one of the things women, we look forward to is security and stability and all of that stuff. So I wasn't so sure. But in that moment, God gave me a sense of peace. Fast forward to the year 99, when we started the church and things took off and was going really fast. It was that word God gave me that began to manifest. That's what I was seeing when we started the church in his mom's living room, 29 people, and there was opposition, as your father talked about in this series, Going Higher. We dealt with opposition with the start of the church and everything, just people being against us, just feeling like we were outcast, not, it wasn't welcoming, with the new church and everything.
And I don't mean to cut you off. That is So good. We're going to pick up right back there. But service is starting. Go ahead and share this with somebody, but you can definitely finish this conversation on our YouTube channel, playlist, The Connect Corner. Back to
You
you.
gonna cut me off like that?
I have to. We have this decent and in order.
That's good. So so fast forward, the church, I mean, it was every week we were seeing just so many people, so many people. It was unbelievable. So here I am, the mom, I think you were 4. Your brother was 9 months, and, just a young mom, a young wife. We start this church, all these people, like I can't keep up, with people I'm meeting every day. And I just noticed your father, just his demeanor. I mean, it was something I knew when I looked at him. He knew this was the thing he was supposed to be doing in life. And so it was beautiful to watch, but it was so fast. I couldn't keep up. Literally the pace of it, I could not keep up. So he just told me, I need you to focus on being my wife and being the mother of my children, while he did the work of the Lord. And that's what I did. I just focused on being his wife and the mother to you and your brother. And I served in ministry. I've always done that. But it's been amazing.
Man, that is
Amazing
so awesome. And even on the part where you said just so many people, I think definitely God has gifted me with the ability to kind of remember people's faces and names very well. But it do be a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like just y'all, our heart, we love you. We appreciate you so much. Like, I remember at one point we were averaging a little bit over 2,000 people each weekend. That's a lot of faces and names.
Yeah.
That's a lot of faces and names to remember. So know our hearts. Forgive us if we forget a name or something. But 22 years of building, and man, just a great, segment for today. Just hearing the story, getting the background. 22 years of building, 22 years of pastor, my father, your husband, living the life he's been created for. And now we're in this series, we're in 2021, after what I believe is probably the most historic year in the world, and Lord knows how long.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to help people live the life they've been created for.
Right.
By living the life he's been created for.
And that pace that I told you about, I couldn't keep up. I mean, literally today, here we are 22 years later, and he hasn't slowed down.
He hasn't. He's actually sped up.
He did.
He's actually sped up. But in that time, I'm hearing some great things. One of the things I remember us talking about as a family, the three of us, just the testament of his leadership is actually us. Like where we are now, and I can definitely, just from what I've seen growing up, just like your growth, your maturation. So like, what has that been like? Because of course we get a different type of building being in the household with the pastor.
Oh yeah.
So just you being built for 22 years, what was that like?
Well, I'm still being built, and I welcome it. I welcome it because one thing I've never wanted to be.
Would he agree with that? I'm kidding. Yeah.
I don't know. We have to ask him. But no, I welcome it because I've never wanted to be in his shadow. I've always wanted to be my own person. I've always strived to be a better version of myself. But what I take pride in the most is being a mother to my children, being the wife to my husband, being a child of God.
Being a nanny to your grandkids.
Oh my goodness, my grands. I love them so. Thank you.
Yes.
That was like the greatest gift. I mean, in the midst of this historic time, I tell everybody that was the greatest gift. And then the Lord, he did this thing where he said, I'm gonna give you 2. So I know you and Kiana, y'all holding it down. I'm so proud of y'all.
Thank you.
But no, they're my pride and joy. Like, looking at them. I look at you guys and I'm honored. And I have pet names for y'all. You're my firstborn. Ty, he's my second wind. Theo's my third time's a charm. Terza's my princess. And Taj and Tori and Taj, because by age, they're my pride and joy. you know, and my husband, my pastor, my friend, you know, my ride or die. We've been through a lot in 22 years, you know, and you've experienced some of that. You've had a courtside seat to it, you know, but when I look,
Pay-per-view ain't got nothing on it. No. We're gonna have to do the movie for y'all so y'all can see.
Yeah, one day. But, you know, we've been through a lot, but by the grace of God, you know, like we're really happy.
Yeah.
Like we're proud of what God has done through us. And we look forward to what he's going to continue to do. And so when we look at you, this is just a glimpse, you know, seeing you in ministry, your wife in ministry, even though she's home now with the babies, that's the ministry right now. But that gives us so much joy, you know, and we know that it's from the Lord. So this whole journey, you know, what God has done, I take no credit. We know that God has done it through us, but he's used us. I mean, little girl from Studewood, you know, little knucklehead boy from 3rd Ward, Houston, or all around Houston. And he's done something amazing. And I still get messages from people who were members here, and now they're gone to other ministries or they've moved out of state, and they just share how Higher D has impacted their life. And there's no greater joy than that. Just knowing that the work you do for the Lord, it goes beyond what we see today. Yeah. You know, it lives in eternity. And that's what gives me the desire to keep going and to work in so many different areas of the church. So many different areas. But I love it.
No, that's good. And again, I'm going to keep saying the 22 years because one, just knowing the stats at the typical church, it don't make it 2 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, we've had the honor, blessing of serving thousands upon thousands of people, and the average, you know, the stats are totally opposite of that when it comes to the church and its community. So God has really, you know, been doing something. But I don't know about you, but like maybe the last 3 years, maybe, you know, the moment I kind of came on staff and all that. So these last 3-4 years, you know, we were at the season of plateauing, not really knowing what's next. That same fire or hype or popularity that was on HD, that kind of fizzled away. But I really feel like 2021 gave us a glimpse and has shown us a clear path of where we're going. So what would you say, you know, just to the people, to anyone that may think, like what's going on with HD? What's the next 22 years? Is there a next 22? You know, some people are like, are we ever opening back up?
Right.
But I'm very excited, but I just want to hear from you and from the people just what's to come with HD in these next 20 years.
Yeah, so the next 20, and
of course we don't know all of it, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know, but I pray and hope that I'm still here, your father's still here, and we probably, you know, retired on the beach somewhere, and we're watching HD online. That's what I hope. But this is one thing I know. This is one thing I know for sure. And I like how Rick Warren always shared that things in the world will change. You know, buildings that are erected and businesses that get started, you know, one day their doors will close and they will be no more. But the church is for eternity. Like it lasts forever. The Big C church, right? And so one thing I know for sure, I know that God has sent us a pastor and a shepherd after his own heart. You know, I shared the story how when I met him, that was my prayer, that was my heart's desire, you know, that you send me somebody who loves you more than me. God blessed me with that. And as a result, he's given us a shepherd that does that. And with the ministry and the way it's going and how we're continuing to transition from one level to go to the next level, man, God, he gives our pastor and our shepherd the ability to be able to do that. You know how the scriptures say, you know, that a deer is able to stand on its hind feet and climb. I've seen your father do that. I've seen our pastor do that. And as a result, I know I'm on the right team. I know I'm on a winning team. Is this thing perfect? By no means.
Of course.
There are a lot of amazing churches,
Yeah.
you know, all over the world. But one thing I know about Higher Dimension Church, as long as our shepherd and our pastor is at the helm, we're going to do what our name says. We're going to go higher.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been able to do. And I believe with the transition, that's what we're seeing. And so I'm excited about the next 20. I'm excited about it for you. I'm excited about it for my grands. And I have such a peace in my heart knowing that the work we're doing together as a family is truly to make a difference in the lives of people. Like we really are building people to live a purpose-driven life. So I'm here for it.
And that's my favorite part. Like I try to tell people all the time, I'm not trying to get you at HD like your grandma was trying to get you at church back in the day. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to have you somewhere just to be standing up clapping, but it's truly a desire in our hearts that people would live the life they were created for, because that's where they'll find fulfillment. That's where they'll leave a legacy. That's where they'll ultimately make impact in the earth. And it won't just be a temporary impact, like I said, it'll be an eternal impact. And that's definitely our hearts. So thank you. I appreciate you so much as we continue to go higher and as we close for the women.
Yeah.
For the single woman, for the married one, for the mother, for the grandmother, and for the entrepreneur. What would you like to share with them for 2021?
For 2021, so Pastor started the year off sharing with us that, hey, time to run. It's time to get up. It's time to go. It's time to make it happen. It's time to do what we've been created for. And to all the women, I have a heart for women. I have an affection for women. And I just want to encourage you, being a part of this team, God's team, right? Not Pastor Jay's team, not Torsha's team, not Terrence's team, but being a part of God's team. When you are on God's side and God is for you, He's more than a world against you. And even though you may feel like the plans that you've made, things are not progressing, things are not going the way you desire for them to go, you thought you heard God, maybe you didn't. I just want to encourage you that many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. So when you are living a life of purpose, when you are worshiping and loving God, when you are serving in ministry, when you are in the fellowship of God, when you are being discipled to grow in God, when you are serving people, and when you are extending a hand to reach out to the needy by serving your community, it's a fulfilling life. And I'm so grateful to God for what He's doing in you. And I truly believe you have a life of meaning, and it's going to bring you have a life of purpose, and it's going to bring so much meaning to the world. So as you open up to God and let Him into your heart, just expect to be in for a treat, because it is going to be the best part of your life. That's
there it is. That was perfect. Thank you so much, Mother Joy, for joining us for the Connect Corner. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope something that was said truly blessed y'all. And live the life that you've been created for. Go ahead and accept it. That's where you'll find true fulfillment. And if you didn't get a chance to watch today's message, go back and watch it, because to live the life you've been created for is easier than you think. See y'all next week.